Under guard, halt. Left, peace. Present, horse. Ladies and gentlemen, would you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the national anthem? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, that the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Honor guards are covered. Right face, close ring, forward, four.
Let's have a moment of silence to bow our heads before we go to the Lord in prayer before we begin this ceremony. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, Lord, that you have bestowed upon us and everyone that is here in attendance, Lord, in this Preston, Kentucky, Lord. It's such a glorious day, and we thank you for it. As we gather here under the open skies with hearts uplifted to raise our flag with reverence and pride in unity, with grateful hearts, Lord, we stand. As we begin this solemn ceremony today, Lord, we ask that you help us to remember the values that this flag conveys to us of liberty, of justice, and of brighter days ahead. Lord, we ask that you grant us the wisdom and courage and grace to honor our nation. And may this flag today, Lord, as we unfurl it and it flies, may it remind us of dreams that never die. We lift it high today, Lord, and we pledge anew to uphold the ideal of freedom in this cherished land, Lord, that you have endowed us with and with your blessings. In unity and in love, we unite today under this flag of these United States of America. And may we never forget the battles and the history that Old Glory stood for. It's with humbled hearts, Lord, that we ask your blessing upon this ceremony. Amen.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. in this beautiful weather that Jessica brought us today from West Virginia, because we couldn't get any here in Kentucky. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow Americans here, on this solemn and significant occasion, we gather here today to honor and pay tribute to two symbols that represent the very essence of our nation's value and sacrifices: the American flag and the prisoner of war missing in action flag. As we raise the American flag high above us, let us remember the principles of freedom, unity, and democracy that it embodies. The red stripe reminds us of the valor and sacrifices of those who have fought and continue to fight for our liberties. The white stripe symbolizes the purity and the innocence of our great nation, and the blue field signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. In conjunction with our beloved Stars and Stripes, we also raise the POW-MIA flag as a touching reminder to those brave men and women who have endured unimaginable hardships while in captivity or remaining missing in action to this day. Their duty serves as a testament to the enduring strength of the spirit. Today, as we look upon these two flags waving proudly in the breeze, let us reaffirm our commitment to never forget the sacrifices made by our service members and their families. Let us honor their memory by upholding these ideas of freedom, democracy, and justice for which they fought so valiantly. May these flags serve as a beacon of hope, unity, and remembrance for all Americans, guiding us towards a future filled with peace, prosperity, and equality for all. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And without the help of our community, we're a community-based store. That's what we say. We call ourselves the store. We're a community-based store, but when we want to do something, we get together. And I have a gentleman here today that wants to say a few words, and his name is Andrew Owens.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for coming today. I'd like to say thank you to Jessica Lynch for being here today. I'm going to thank a few people that wasn't able to be here but assisted in making all this possible. Bath County PVA Jackie Watson, Powell Funeral Home, Family Discount Drug, Owingsville First Church of God, the Michael R. Gray Funeral Home, Bath County Sheriff Jesse Stewart, the Bath County Save-A-Lot, Bath County VFW, and Task Force Omega. Today, as we gather here, it's important to reflect on the significance of the American flag and what it represents. The American flag is more than just a piece of fabric. It's a symbol of our freedom, our unity, and our shared values as a nation. When we see the flag flying high, we are reminded of the sacrifices that have been made to protect our freedoms and the ideals that we hold dear. On this day, we also want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to the veterans who have served our country with honor and courage. We are thankful for your sacrifices, your bravery, and your dedication to protecting our freedoms. Your service has not gone unnoticed, and we are forever grateful for everything you have done for us. Thank you to all the veterans, past and present, for all your service and sacrifice. We are proud to be Americans because of you. Thank you.
Next up, I'm going to bring up the president of Task Force Omega. And I had a gentleman walk up to me a while ago and ask me, he said, "Do you know Danny Belcher?" And I said, "I didn't know there was a soul in this county that didn't know him." So at this time, I would like to bring up Danny, or as we all know him here, Greasy Belcher. Which one? one of these works. My height. Is this the one that works? We're in trouble now. Usually I have to lower the thing down about 2 foot to reach my mouth. Renee Cassidy, Mike's beautiful wife. Come here, honey. I got some for you. It says, Emory William Denton. Yes, you. Her grandfather was killed in World War II, buried in France, finally brought home. And Mike asked me to please present this to you, honey. Oops.
Thank you.
It's a Purple Heart medal in honor of her grandfather. We forget the cost of freedom. It's a shame we have to fight for everything we got. Major Mark Smith, Vietnam POW, gut shot up, back broke, bullet wounds, fought 3 days in battle of Loc Ninh, was captured and held in Cambodia over a year. I've been honored to work with him in Bangkok and in the States on trying to get live POWs back. I was in Laconia with him and he said something very smart. A couple of gentlemen out there did not get out of their seat and stand for the national anthem. He said, in case of some of y'all don't know, several of us here have killed other humans. The next time you hear our national anthem, it'd be in your best interest to stand. The POW issue, William Miller in my old unit. A few weeks ago we found out that he was listed as PW, him and Officer Hummel. Before that we told, don't know where they went down, Laos, Vietnam. All these years later, even though we had information in '89 he was alive, could be brought out, etc. Back in 1988, about 20 of us left from over here, went to Washington, D.C. for the first Rolling Thunder rally. Then I found out more information, more people. We left 642 Americans behind in Vietnam, and everybody knew it. Other POWs coming back, intel, satellite photos, overwhelming evidence. One of those people, let's go back to Korean War. Steve Kiba, Korean War POW, held in China. He came out alive. He knew there's others left behind the Korean War. This goes back to World War I. We leave people behind. Recently, at debacle in Afghanistan, where we betrayed our troops and whoever our friends were, our commander-in-chief said, shelter in place, which means cover your butt. We ain't gonna come and get you. The ones that got out, thank God the special forces, some good people went in, try to do what's right. It's up to you to do what's right. Don't depend on the federal government, the Pentagon. We've seen that betrayal. Abandoned, betrayed, and forgotten. So how does this connect to Jessica Lynch? By 17 years later, on Rolling Thunder, 2005, we had about 500 people from Kentucky, left out of Lions Club Park, went to D.C. People up there, some of them didn't know who Scott Spiker was. No one Iraqi POW. But I'll get back to that. Since then, this is their 20th year to be going to Raynell, West Virginia, for the West Virginia Veterans Reunion, LZ Raynell. Last year, Larry Vigil was there, my buddy now with Homeland Security, that worked for Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell. I met Larry in 1993 in the Pentagon when he was working on Rolling Thunder, organizing it. He was working for Congressman Ben Nighthorse Campbell then, which became Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell. Started pushing legislation. We changed legislation where our POW flag flew at the Vietnam Vet Memorial, the Korean Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and finally the Kentucky Vietnam Vets Memorial. But it took an act of Congress to get that done. That's pretty damn sad. Larry said, we got to do something to protect these people if they do bring out alive Americans. So we passed Public Law 106-484, the Bring Them Home Alive Act, that said if anybody from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Korea, China, Russia, Cuba, if they help bring out a live American, they and their family will be protected. In other words, brought to the United States instead of facing the fate worse than death. Larry's one of those people that should have went to prison or been killed on his own. He worked through law school, worked for Senator Campbell, and he's the guy that he'd say, Greasy, we need help with this. We'd go up there and get her. And by the way, Kentucky was the only state that had 100% co-sponsorship on the Bring Them Alive Home Alive Act in the House and Senate. I'll advance forward and they'll come back to how Jessica fits in this picture. But like I said, we've been going to Raynell. We go to school. We talk to kids about patriotism, the POWMAs, the cost of freedom. We was hoping to get Scott out alive. We had report after report. Years later, thanks to Senator Bob Smith and others, got into that jet that disintegrated, blew all the hell in the air. It bellied in the sand. The ejection seat and canopy is a quarter mile or so behind it, which means he came out before it bellied in, so he could have survived. And probably did. Later on, we got a jawbone back. Said, that's him. It could have been a jawbone of a goat for all we know. The last year we went to D.C., like I say, it was about 500 people or so. But during one of our programs at the Lions Club Park, Larry V. Hill called me right during the ceremony and said, Greasy, don't tell anybody, but we got a live American prisoner of war. I thought, Scott Spiker's coming out. He said, don't tell anybody yet. It wasn't 10 minutes later. He said, Greasy, it ain't Scott Spiker. The fellow, we'll just call him Mohammed, his wife and child were coming to the United States. He went in twice to tell the Marines, there's an American girl crying in the hospital. The second time, the Marines went in. And Larry said, a little girl, a soldier from West Virginia, is coming home named Jessica Lynch. I said, who in the hell's that? But we're glad you're home, honey. And Jessica, I hope that anywhere in the world you can come to Raynell this year and meet Larry V. Hill. I've got the information here about, wrong pocket, gun pocket over here, I'm sorry. Anyway, information for you. But Larry is humble, quiet, never took credit for anything. He said, I just did a job. You just did a job. We're glad you're back, honey. You can't believe everything happened behind the scenes. What's interesting, I met the guy with Voice of America, broadcasting in the Arabic languages, Farsi, Hindi, whatever, that said if you help bring a live American out, you and your family will be protected before it passed. Everybody over there knew that they could risk their neck to save a live American, and you won't be turned back. So Kentucky's got a lot to be proud of, and Jessica, glad you came here, honey, and welcome home. God bless you. Thank you, Greasy. Now, for the one that didn't know, that's Greasy, that's Danny Belcher. Next, I'd like to bring up, I'm going to bring up our, he told me not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's our Chief Deputy County Judge, Bernsey Stewart. He's also over our emergency management.
Your mic went out.
We lost our sound, John. There it is. They was afraid you'd talk a long time, Bernsey.
They didn't let me close to that board, did they?
Anyway, what Bernsey is here for and what he brought me is he made a proclamation here, and it goes like this. Whereas Jessica Lynch, the courageous former prisoner of war, is an inspiring symbol of resilience, represents the bravery and spirit of our nation's armed forces, and whereas the community of Bath County, Kentucky, wishes to honor and recognize Jessica Lynch for her service and sacrifice during her time as POW. And whereas it is fitting to commemorate Jessica Lynch and all POWs by raising both the American flag and the POW flag in a special ceremony at the store in Preston, Bath County, Kentucky. Now, therefore, we proclaim the week of April the 13th in Bath County, Kentucky, as Jessica Lynch and POW Recognition Week. So, we encourage all citizens to reflect on the sacrifices made by Jessica Lynch and all POWs in the service to our country. We further declare that a special flag-raising ceremony featuring both the American flag and the POW flag will be held at the store in Preston on this date. May this proclamation serve as a token of your gratitude and admiration for Jessica Lynch and all those who have served in the sacrifice of your freedom. It is signed Forrest McKenzie, as we know him as Frosty, Bath County Judge Executive, Bath County, Kentucky, on April 13th of 2024. If you want, Jessica, if you want to come up, and Bergsy can give you this to you.
Good job, Mike.
Did I get the job?
You get the job.
Yeah. There you go. I'll get you a picture with them. Just give her a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our state representative will be coming up. His name is Mr. David Hale.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. What a privilege it is to be here today on this really a beautiful, beautiful day that we've been blessed with for this celebration and this commemoration here today. I just want to say to each one of you, thank you so much for taking time to come and be with us here today. It's a great honor of mine to just represent this county and Frankfort in the state legislature, and I appreciate each one of you here today. And this ceremony that is being here at the store at Preston, I want to thank Mike and Renee, his wife, for this, and Greasy for his commitment to our veterans and our POWs. As he said there a few moments ago, those that we left behind, shame on us for doing that as the United States and whoever was responsible for that. And I know there's some that probably maybe we couldn't get, but for those that we knew where they were at and we left them, especially as you look back, as he mentioned, just in this last debacle that we had there in Afghanistan, what a shame that was that we walked away from some of our Americans that were right there. So, I don't know if my sound like my mic. Is it on? Okay. Is it on?
Yeah, pick another one.
Test, all right. But I want to say today, again, thank you all for being here, and to Jessica, we appreciate you coming here to be with us today here in Bath County from West Virginia. And it's my distinct honor today to just recognize you and to be here with you. Words today really cannot express to you how we feel and what you have done for our country and our gratitude for your service to America. It's because of her and people like yourself and the veterans that we have here, those that have already passed and those current veterans and even those that are serving us today. Folks, it is because of them that we have the freedoms that we have today. Let us never forget that. Let us never, ever forget that we have the freedom to express ourselves. We have the freedom to worship the way we so choose. We have the freedom to vote and elect our leaders that we choose. We have the freedoms that hardly any other nation, no other nation in the country has them like we have. But it did not come free. It came at a great price, that people paid a high price to give us those freedoms. And Jessica, today we want to say to you and to everyone here, thank you so much for your service. Your commitment to our country is incredible, and I really did not know a whole lot about this story until I started hearing about it not too long ago. The way that things transpired, and you came out of being a prisoner of war. But for those that had that work behind the scenes and got that done, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this lady right here, I'm going to ask her to come up on the stage with me for just a second, if she don't mind. There's a lot of people today that we call heroes. This is a hero right here. Would anybody agree with that today? This is a hero. You know, we honor people, and sometimes we pay tribute to people. To be very frank, that does not need to be tributes paid to them. I was listening to Greasy as he spoke right there, and you know, we have athletes across this country that are getting paid millions of dollars a year, and they won't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, or they won't stand for the national anthem, or they kneel, or they leave the court, or they leave the field and not respect our country. But this is a hero right here. Somebody that served our nation. And I think, again, she deserves the biggest round of applause that we can give today to her for her service. And so, Jessica, it is my honor today as a Kentucky State Legislator serving in the General Assembly in Frankfort, Kentucky. Even though you are a West Virginian, and we won't hold that against you at all, not at all, you're American. But I do want to present you today with this certificate, which now makes you the Honorable Jessica Lynch, a Kentucky Colonel here in the state of Kentucky. So I would like to present this to you on behalf of our state and the state legislature. I'll just keep it folded up in this so it don't get bent, but congratulations today. You now from West Virginia can call yourself an Honorable Kentucky Colonel. Again, thank you so much today for your service. We appreciate that so very, very much. Thank you again today for letting me speak here, and it's great to be here on this beautiful day. Thank you very much, Mike.
Which one we on, Doc? Well, let's try this one again. Okay. Thank you very much, David. Next up, we have our state senator here, Mr. Greg Elkin. Make him welcome, please. Whichever one works best.
I'll use the one till the other doesn't work, and then I'll use the other before I knock everything down. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of our veterans out there that have served. I certainly appreciate it. We couldn't be here today if it weren't for you. Thank you to Rolling Thunder for all the work that you do. It's incredible. And as I have become a member of the Kentucky General Assembly and the State Senate, I learn more and more about the work that you do every day. And it's very much appreciated and under-recognized, I can assure you of that. I did serve 6 years in the Kentucky Army National Guards, but I still feel like I'm not worthy to stand here and give this speech that I've written today. But I'm going to do my best, and I hope you'll indulge me. As I look at these POW flags, I can't help but think about the honor, the courage, and the sacrifice that the POW flag represents. But I also think about the resilience of those who have been held captive while serving our country. And we've met one of those today. As we look at this flag, we should always remember the terrible hardships that our POWs surely endured. Oftentimes they faced torture, isolation, separation from their fellow soldiers and their families here at home. In order to survive, they must have had to dig deep within themselves to find strength, strength that they likely didn't even know they had until that moment. The POW flag is not just a symbolic flag. It's a reminder of our duty and our responsibility to honor and to remember those who have suffered in service to our country. It serves as a tribute to their sacrifice and a recognition of their spirit. While we honor our POWs, we should also remember the families of the prisoners of war. They too have endured unimaginable hardships, pain, and uncertainty, not knowing if their loved ones would ever return home, or even if they were still alive. As we look at the POW flag, let us renew our commitment to supporting and advocating for our veterans and their families, and let us strive to ensure that those who have served and sacrificed for our country always receive the care, the respect, and the recognition that they truly deserve. May this flag forever serve as a reminder to the strength, the courage, and the resilience of the prisoners of war. May it also inspire us to strive for a world where freedom and justice prevail. And with that, I thank you. I thank our veterans. I give you my heartfelt thanks for the sacrifice that you've made for our country. I know you spent time away from your families, away from where you wanted to be oftentimes, to serve our country, and for that I appreciate it. And thank you, Jessica, for the sacrifices that you made for our country. Thank everybody today for being here. Thank you, Mike.
And last we have here speaking today, coming up will be from Congressman Barr's office, we have Craig Shockley.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Craig Shockley, and I'm here representing U.S. Congressman Andy Barr today. Thank you very much to Senator Elkins, Representative Hale, Greasy, Task Force Omega, Rolling Thunder, obviously Jessica Lynch, and the Cassidys for everything that you've done here today. There is nothing that we will ever be able to do to repay our veterans, especially our POW MIA veterans, to give them the welcome home, any sort of benefits, any sort of gratitude that they deserve, and they deserve every little ounce of it. So I come here expressing Congressman Barr's most heartfelt gratitude. He was unable to be here today, but as our senator and state representative have put it so eloquently, they've paid tremendous sacrifices. They've had to dig deep within themselves to find strength that they did not know that they had, and we are forever grateful for your sacrifices and your service to this country. Thank you very much.
Well, now is the moment we've all waited for. From our neighboring state of West Virginia, the only living POW, the first successful rescued POW since World War II, and the first woman POW. She has been awarded a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, a POW Medal. It gives me a great pleasure and honor to present to you a true hero, Miss Jessica Lynch.
Hi, it is such an honor to be here. So I know that we have all touched on freedom, and that's why we are here today, because of the flag raising. And I cannot express what they are saying is so true. I mean, if you just look around us right now of how many veterans are standing here and what it means with that flag. So again, thank you so much to all of our veterans for coming out, and then just their families for being there and supporting them. So I'm going to jump right in just so we don't have everyone stand out here in the hot sun forever, because I could talk for literally ever. So it was May of 2001 when I graduated high school, and from that point I knew that I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. That was something that I knew from 5 years old when I was in kindergarten, and I looked up to my kindergarten teacher. So that was something that I always wanted to do. So May of 2001, when I graduated, who do you think shows up at my door? An old Army recruiter. So my family is sitting there. It's my brother, who's a year older than I am, and my sister, who's a year and a half younger. Our parents are at work, so it's just the three of us kids sitting there. My brother was finishing up his semester of his first year of college. So he was 19, I was 18, and my sister was 16. And we were sitting there, and then he came to us, and he started talking about, there's papers flying everywhere, sorry. So he started talking to us about, all the benefits of if you join, you can travel the world, you get educational benefits, the whole spiel that you hear all the time that these Army recruiters give to you. And for the three of us kids, we were sitting there and we were thinking, all right, again, my brother was born in '82, I was an '83 baby, and my sister is an '84 baby. So we were sitting there thinking, gosh, this would just take that financial burden off of our parents of putting us all through college at the same time. And it was a way for me and my brother to be able to serve. So before we knew it, we were signed up and ready for basic training. My brother left in August of 2001, and I left the week after 9/11 had occurred. So I was already nervous, I was scared, the whole emotions of just one with everything that happened with 9/11, and then of course leaving and going into the military. So I remember, and I'll tell you a short, quick story, but I remember as I was leaving from Beckley in West Virginia at the little MEP Center, and we had a sergeant that was flying with us, but as I was walking out through there, I had a backpack, and yeah, that strap broke. It flipped me in the eye and just happened to catch my contact and knocked out my contact. So there I was, 18 years old, leaving for basic training the week after 9/11. This was my very first time of even getting on an airplane. So I was nervous, I was scared. I was the whole emotions of running through of like, I can't do this, I'm done. But the sergeant, he said, don't worry, once you get the basic training, they'll replace your eyewear. Me being 18 and thinking that I was going to get a new pair of, flashy glasses or another pair of contacts. Wrong. He gave me the big, birth control glasses. I don't know what they are called in the other branches, but we called them BCG's, birth control glasses, and they were literally just big donuts that you wore on your face. So I made it through basic training just fine, even after all of that. I went on to my advanced individual training, which was down in Virginia at Fort Lee, and learning to be a supply clerk. Once that training was over, I then went on to Fort Bliss, which is in El Paso, Texas. And I was stationed in El Paso from February of 2002 to February of 2003. So once February of 2003 rolled around, we were deployed to SWAL, Southwest Asia, and that's all they would tell us. Until we landed and we figured out that, no, we're in Kuwait. So we get off of Kuwait, we stay in Kuwait for about a month until President Bush officially declared war, which was March 20th of 2003. With that, our orders were just follow the long convoy in front of you. Follow the person in front of you. Once we made it to Baghdad, then we would split off, and each company unit would go into their own separate way. Simple enough. You guys are trying to kill me again. Goodness. So we crossed the border with, I don't even remember the exact amount, but it was a long line of convoy, just unit after unit. And again, it was just follow the person in front of you. Simple as enough. Until about a few days in, and my unit starts to lag behind. So far behind that at one point we were 19 hours behind the rest of the convoy. My commander and first sergeant that was with us made the decision, which by the way, my commander was an acting captain. He was a first lieutenant acting as our commander. And long story short, our original commander got taken away from us back in the States, wasn't allowed to deploy with us. So our first sergeant, we had just met in Kuwait. So it was only a few days that we had actually known him. But they made this decision that they were going to split us in half. The rest of the convoy continue on, and 33 of us, 31 technically, but we gained 2 more soldiers along the way. So 31 from the unit and 17 vehicles would stay behind. First mistake, right? You do not ever do that. So we continue on with the 33 of us, and we think that we see the rest of the convoy ahead of us. What we saw that morning was the lights of the city of Nazareth. Once we got into Nazareth is when we realized that we had made a huge mistake, that everything following up to that was just not how it was supposed to go. Our GPSs quit working on us while we were lost. We had paper maps, which were eventually read incorrectly. And again, there was just the 33 of us lost in this desert. So we get up to the city and we think that we finally find what we are looking for, because now we are no longer in sand, we are on hardtop. And the commander and first sergeant was like, all right, let's continue on, even though we should have never been in that small little town. We get about a halfway point into the city, and then that's when we realize that 6 a.m., there's Iraqis starting to come out from their homes. They're standing up on top of the rooftop, some of them literally just standing out in front of us like you guys are, and they're waiting for us. They're locked, they're loaded, and they're pointing it right at us. My commander and first sergeant made that decision to hurry up quickly, let's turn around and get ourselves back out of that town. It was too late by then. We had some of the heavier machinery with us. We had some 18-wheelers, so turning them around in this town was quite impossible. And unfortunately, we didn't get everybody turned around in time before they started that first dreaded gunshot. And then before we knew it, we were just in a full-fledged ambush attack everywhere around us. At this point, I am in a Humvee, and it's a 4-person Humvee with 5 of us in it. My best friend, Lori Payesto, was driving. My first sergeant was in the passenger seat, and then those 2 extra soldiers were sitting beside me. I was the smallest, so they pushed me up on top of like the transmission hump just to squeeze everybody inside. Yeah, we continued on until we were hit by an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade, on the right side of our vehicle. Lori lost control, and we ended up slamming into the back of a disabled 18-wheeler into the trailer part of it. And doing so, that killed Lori, head trauma off of the steering wheel, and the 3 men that were in the vehicle were all shot and killed. Knocked unconscious, so we're assuming that the Iraqis assumed that I was dead, so they did not shoot me. But when they came around to determine who was KIA and who was still alive, the Iraqis noticed that I was still breathing. So they literally, physically ripped me out of the Humvee and dragged my body across to one of Saddam's palaces that was nearby. And then inside of there, and I'm still unconscious at this point, thank the good Lord, so that I don't have, you know, that feeling of it. But they took me inside of the palace, and that is where they proceeded to break my bones. They snapped my right humerus, so my right arm is broken. My back was broken at the 4th and 5th lumbar, and then they took metal pipes and busted my left leg. So after doing that, and they stripped me of all of my military gear, they then proceeded to take me to a nearby hospital, and that was Nazareth, sorry. From that point, they left me with, I think it was about 3 Iraqi kind of guards of what I call them. So they were always standing over top of me. So when I came to, and this was about 2 to 3 hours, they're guesstimating of the time frame from the time the ambush happened to when I woke up. But I remember waking up and I was lying on this bed, and I opened my eyes to these Iraqi men standing over top of me. So the first thing that I did was jump, to jerk, to get away from them, and that is when I realized that I could not move anything from my waist down. I was able to move my left hand, and that was it. So So days kind of went by of me staying there in that hospital, and they moved me around quite frequently. But I remember one day they took me down to an operating room, and they proceeded to tell me that they needed to amputate my leg in order to save me. I didn't even know what was wrong with me because, again, with the back being broke, I lost all feeling from my waist down. So I didn't even know that it was still attached because they kept me completely like covered up so that I couldn't see anything. But they took me down to the operating room and they transferred my body over onto the operating room table. And I remember lying there and looking up and thinking, I don't even know what I'm here for. I don't remember any kind of IVs being put in me, other than them telling me to start counting as they put the oxygen mask over my face. And that is when I started to beg and plead and just cry, just please, please don't, like, just leave me alone, return me to the Americans, don't harm me anymore. And for whatever reason, they stopped whatever they were doing, and they moved me back over onto the little gurney bed that they carried me down on, and took me back upstairs. And again, they proceeded to move me about again quite frequently so that I was in a different spot throughout the hospital at all times. And then one day they loaded me up into an ambulance and told me that they were going to return me to the Americans. So they put me in an ambulance and away we went. Unfortunately, we never saw Americans. And they took me on the outskirts of town where the electricity had already been shut off to this abandoned building. And they put me inside and then they left me. And I remember thinking, I have a couple options, that I can scream and make as much noise as I humanly can to try to draw attention to myself in hopes that there would be American troops standing outside, or I could be as quiet as I could possibly be in fear that there was the militiamen or the Fedayeen or any of those troops, Iraqis that were there to hurt us, and those were the hands that I did not want to be in. So I laid there in this abandoned building, and I could watch the sun go up and the sun go down through this like crack of doorway, and I just thought, this is it. Like, I haven't ate, I haven't had anything to drink, like I've not been nothing, like I've just been laying here waiting. Did it go off?
Pick up that other mic.
Sorry about that. Is it on? All right, there we go. So yeah, I was just laying there in this room, just waiting, to see what would happen. Thankfully, the good Iraqis, I'll call them the good Iraqis, so they came back, they loaded me back up into the ambulance, took me back to the hospital, and from that point again, they moved me around quite a bit. And I remember even at one point them putting me in like a main hallway with all of these big windows, and I thought, well, that's weird, like I'm out in the open where everyone can see me. And I was just hoping and praying that there would be some American troops standing on that other side of the building and that could see me. So they did. They then moved me around again until one day. Yeah, until one day, it was April 1st. It was around midnight. And I was locked in this tiny little room with the two guards, one standing by the window and one by the door. And I remember them just being antsy, like frantic. Something was about to happen, and I could hear the helicopters and the Humvees roll in, the tanks. I could hear all of that, and I thought, this is it. They don't know that I'm in here, and they're about to take over this building. Then I could hear, "Where's Private Lynch?" being yelled from the hallway. And again, even though it was my name and it was in English, I feared. I was so scared that it was a Iraqi posing with English, and that they were going to take me away from, where I was kind of safe. Within moments of hearing that, beside my bed were SEALs and Marines, and one of them looked at me and he said, "We're Americans and we're here to take you home." And he placed an American flag off of his uniform, placed it in my left working hand, and away we went. They were able to take me to the awaiting helicopter, where they then took me to Kuwait and then on to Germany. Once I made it to Germany, that's when they kind of were able to do the whole assessment of what was wrong. And they found out, yes, indeed, my right arm was snapped. I had multiple cracked ribs. My head, I had a head laceration that went all the way up around my kind of skull. And then my back was broken at the 4th and 5th lumbar. And then my left femur, when I was first taken to the hospital, Iraqis, they surgically went in, took out my left femur, and placed it with a 1940s era rod that was unsterilized and fit for a man. As you can tell, I'm very short, I'm 5'3", so that long rod that was placed inside of me caused a severe infection, with that and it being unsterilized. And that was one of the reasons that we are concluding that maybe they were wanting to amputate the leg. The left tibia was also broken. There's a rod there. And then the right foot, as they were pulling me out of the Humvee, since I was not in a seat and we crashed in that back of that trailer, my body flew forward, got lodged underneath of the passenger seat. So when they came around to jerk me out of there, they just literally jerked me out of there and snapped my foot to the side. So I've had over 20 surgeries, just my recent one this past winter. I was able to go in for my 8th operation on my right foot to correct it. So if you see me going like this a bunch of times, that's all. It's just my right foot giving me issues. But what I conclude from all of this is that I'm here for a reason. And it's to be able to get out here and to meet people like you, veterans, that come together and support not only myself, but all of our former POWs, because there are several from my unit. There was 5 others that did make it home. They got to come home after 21 days. They were able to get out of Iraq as well. They were able to bring the 11 fallen soldiers from my unit. They were able to find them in a shallow grave outside of the hospital that I was in. So they were able to go in, dig up their bodies, and also bring them home. So I do what I do, and you guys do what you do, because of the freedoms that we have, which is what we're here for today, which is the flag. So I know that each and every one of us standing here today has gone through some kind of struggle, obstacle, whatever it is that we are dealing with, whether it's financial, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, whatever it is, that we're all going through something. So as they say, be kind, because you never know what else someone else is going through. Just be nice and think about the freedoms that we are here and celebrating with each and every one of you guys today. thank you so much for having me. It has been a true honor, and I look forward to at least meeting some of you. I know some of you will probably have to go, but, so in that case, thank you so much. But I do hope to get to meet some of you. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me here today.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you so much for your service and everything.